If you've been scrolling through a dozen 75-inch TV listings, watching the same YouTube unboxing after unboxing, and still feel that needle-pulling hesitation, you're not alone. The sheer amount of marketing hype mini LED, QLED, Dolby Vision, Google TV can make it feel like you're picking a lottery ticket instead of a TV. This review is meant to cut through the buzz and help you decide whether the Hisense 75U8QGKIT1 actually lives up to the promises it makes, or if you're better off putting your money elsewhere. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about why a 75-inch screen is a distinct decision point. At that size, you're basically turning your living room into a home theater, which means you're going to watch movies, binge series, and probably game a fair amount. The biggest risk is buying a panel that looks great on paper but falls flat when you sit a few feet back and try to follow the plot. The Hisense U8 series tries to address that by using a mini LED backlight with local dimming zones, which promises deeper blacks and higher peak brightness. In practice, that means a dark scene in a thriller can retain detail without the washed-out look you sometimes see on cheaper LED panels. If you're used to watching movies in a dimmed room, that extra contrast can feel like a real upgrade. But contrast is just one piece of the puzzle. The TV also supports Dolby Vision, HDR10+, and HLG. Those formats are essentially the same thing in different packaging, each aims to give you more color depth and dynamic range. The practical outcome is that a bright, outdoor scene in a nature documentary will pop with vivid greens, while a candlelit dinner will retain subtle shadows. The U8's mini LED backlight does reach the 1000 nit territory, which is enough for HDR content in most living rooms, even if you have some ambient light. That's a definite strength, especially if you've bought a streaming device that throws Dolby Vision content at you. Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Disney Plus. You'll actually see the difference. On the flip side, the TV's native refresh rate is 144 Hz, but the panel itself runs at 120 Hz, with motion enhancement handled through the Game Mode Pro and VRR, variable refresh rate. For most viewers, that translates into smoother fast action sequences without the blur you'd notice on a 60 Hz set. If you're a serious console gamer who wants to run titles at 120 frames per second, this is a plus. However, the U8 does not support HDMI 2.1 bandwidth for full 4K 120 on all ports. Only one HDMI input will give you the full experience. That means you'll need to be selective about which device gets the premium HDMI slot, a small but real compromise if you have multiple consoles and a PC. Audio is another area where the marketing buzz gets us. The TV is equipped with Dolby Atmos and a three-way speaker array that promises spacious surround sound. In a typical living room, those speakers can indeed produce a more enveloping effect than standard stereo, especially for dialogue that seems to come from above or behind you in a 5.1 mix. That said, the absolute volume levels are modest. If you're trying to fill a large open-plan space without a soundbar, you'll likely need to add external speakers. So think of this TV's audio as an improvement over standard TV sound, but not a replacement for a dedicated audio system. Now, let's consider the smart side. Hisense has built Google TV right into the remote, complete with integrated Google Assistant. The interface is clean and the voice remote works reliably for searching latest episode of The Crown or turning on the lights if you have compatible smart bulbs. The biggest practical advantage here is that you won't need an extra streaming stick. Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, and YouTube are all native apps that launch instantly. However, the system does occasionally get stuck on updates, and you'll notice a slight lag when switching between apps. If you're a user who likes to flick through channels quickly, the occasional hiccup might be a nuisance, though it's not a deal breaker for most. Who should buy the Hisense 75U8QGKIT1? If you're a movie lover who values deep blacks and strong HDR performance, and you already have a decent sound solution or don't mind adding a soundbar later, this TV checks a lot of boxes. It's also a solid pick for gamers who own a next-gen console and want the optional VRR and low input lag without breaking the bank on a premium brand. The price point places it below many high-end competitors while still offering many of the same visual features, so the value for money argument is compelling if you compare the cost per inch and the feature set. Who should skip it? If you have a very bright living room with windows that let in a lot of daylight, the mini LED brightness may still be outshone by the sun, and you might be better off with a TV that explicitly advertises higher nits or an anti-glare coating. Also, if you're an audiophile who expects cinema-level surround without a separate system, the